We did it. Yay.
Hey.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. I know that you are excited to meet Kaylan. So I just want to reiterate that we are all Wonder Woman and that, we've all had a Wonder Woman moment or two or three. Some of us seem to have figured out how to stay in that Wonder Woman lane, which is, I know, where I would like to always be. And, the purpose of our interviews with Wonder Women, our fellow Wonder Women, is really to tap into those stories, those moments that share our Wonder Woman strength, so that we can glean from those stories, we can glean from each other and really, help ourselves, help our sisterhood to create more of those moments and outcomes. So be prepared tonight to hear from our sister Kaylan and how she achieved her Wonder Woman moments. She's had many, so I'm not sure which one she's going to talk about tonight. I told her to surprise me, but she's going to share those Wonder Woman moments that have led to dreams come true for her professionally and or personally. And again, our intention is to learn from one another. Kaylan has manifested many dreams, as I mentioned, in her personal and professional life. And now she helps entrepreneurs to scale their dream business. So how does that sound? Kaylan, I'm so excited to have you tonight. And so I'm going to start with kind of a big question. Tell us your story.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Candace. I'm really excited to be here. And thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And so where do you want to start, Candace?
You can start with your story, a story where you helped to make your dream come true, or it was like the beginning of making a dream come true.
Yeah. So I'll just kind of go into a little bit of my background before I had that kind of like breakthrough moment that really was the thing that catapulted me to achieving a lot of my dreams. And so my background actually is theater and acting and performing. And so I went to school for musical theater and I was acting for many, many years. It's been almost 20 years now, which sounds crazy to say. I'm like, what?
You look like you're 20, so I don't believe you.
Well, yeah, thank you. My birthday is next week and I'll be 39. So yeah. So anyways, I was acting for a long time and I was, performing on stage, little on camera, doing commercial work professionally. And I traveled a lot. I loved it. I really enjoy being an actor because it's all about stepping into other people's shoes and telling their story. So I'm fascinated with people. I'm actually a little bit introverted, so I love to watch people. I love to kind of see how people just respond to different situations. And as an actor, that's what you're doing. You're really stepping into their shoes. You're looking at what their circumstances are and you're telling stories to an audience. And so that's what I did. And I loved it. And, I went through some things personally. I was in a relationship with someone who I met doing theater and we had a daughter together. And, it was a little rocky relationship. We'll just say that. And, she was only 6 months old when he and I actually split up because it was not a good relationship. It was negative. It was a little, verbally abusive almost, infidelity, like the whole 9 yards. So it was a time that
fun stuff we look forward to in a relationship, right?
Exactly. And it was a really dark time for me when that happened. But I realized that in order for me to take the next step, I needed to remove myself from the environment that I was in. And I had a great career as an actress, but I was working in a lot of the same theaters with the same directors. And I kind of hit a plateau where I wasn't going to really, break free from what I was doing. I was just kind of like at the peak. I was playing like lead roles and all that stuff. And I liked it, but I knew that there was something more for me there. So I always had a dream to move to New York, and just the way like my life happened after I graduated from school, I started working at theaters in Philadelphia and Delaware and New Jersey, and I just ended up staying there. I never took the leap because I just got kind of comfortable. And so as my daughter was 6 months old, I was a single mom. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to move to New York City.
Wow.
Of all times I could have moved to New York, I waited until the time when I had a 6-month-old child.
Because that would make it easier, right? That would make it a lot easier.
Exactly. And so I just made the decision that I was going to remove myself from my current environment and just go. Everyone thought I was crazy. My mother was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I have to just be on my own, you know, with my daughter, obviously. And I also want her to see me happy and see me achieving for things, you know, working towards my dreams, being brave and all of that. Like, I don't want her to see a negative environment with any like, you know, toxic behavior. And so, you know, not that her dad was a bad person, but he and I just didn't work together. And so I didn't want her to see like that interaction. And so I knew that we kind of had to just go a different direction. And obviously he could still have his relationship with her, but I just needed to be in a different place. So I went on Craigslist. I looked for apartments in New York. I think at that time, because as an actor, I was not making a lot of money, especially in theater. So I had like a couple $1,000s for my tax return that year. And I was like, I'm just going to get a studio apartment in Queens. I just looked on Craigslist. I found something. It was literally like a bedroom. That was it. And so I moved there with my daughter. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a plan. I'm like, I'm going to get there. I'm going to figure it out. It's going to happen. I just kind of put blinders on and I just, you know, put fuel to the fire and just made it happen. So I wasn't afraid because I've always been able to kind of just jump into things and make it work. And so I just thought to myself,
have that kind of internal belief, right?
Yeah. I've always been able to make things happen. And, you know, I've never been afraid to do new things. So I was like, I'm just going to go and I'm going to see what's out there for me. I know I just need that energy of New York City because like I always crave that. Like I remember visiting New York and just feeling like this is where I'm going to be. This is where I want to be. This is the energy I want to be in. So yeah, I moved there. I didn't have a job. I had no money basically. And I really just thought, okay, maybe I'll audition. Maybe I will, you know, just figure something out. So I ended up, you know, searching for jobs. And one of my girlfriends, she just got a job as a makeup artist at this emerging startup company. So at that time, it was 2013, and there were all these on-demand apps coming out, Uber, you know, like all these food delivery apps that are out there now, so many different services that were emerging. And so this company was basically Uber for beauty and wellness services. And my friend got a job there as a makeup artist. And I used to do makeup when I was an actor because, like I said, you had to have a million jobs to support an acting career. So I was like, that sounds cool. You know, I can go, it's decent money. I'll make it happen. We'll see, whatever. So I went and I interviewed. And at the time it was just the founder of the company. And he actually built the app himself. So it was him. And then there was a woman who was the VP of business development. And so I went and I interviewed and I got offered a job as an artist, but I said to them, you know, do you guys need anyone else in the office working with you? Because they were about to launch to the market and it was only them. And they were like, yeah, we definitely do need people. Do you want to start next week? And I'm like, okay. And at that time I had literally just run out of like all of my money. I was literally broke. So I was like, I need to make something happen right now. And I remember they're like, we'll pay you $500 a week. And I was literally crying because I was so happy because I was at a point where I didn't know what was going to happen.
Right.
So I started there and it was me literally recruiting hairstylists, makeup artists, massage therapists, all the beauty and wellness professionals. So I was basically kind of doing sales. I was calling them, telling them about the app and having them come on as a provider. And so it was me just recruiting people. So I would make like 100 calls a day. I would run errands. I would do all these things. So it launched to the New York market and ended up doing really well. And so we were featured in basically every magazine, like In Style and, you know, like Elle and all the cool things. And so we started to get a lot of traction because it was such a new idea. You know, it was a great concept for busy female professionals who didn't want to go to the salon or moms that wanted to stay at home with their kids and have someone come and do their nails. So it was very like a breakthrough thing. And it was like the cool thing in New York at the time. So we were, like I said, getting featured in all these different magazines and things like that. And so I started doing really well with the talent acquisition piece. And from there, we started to see in the market that people didn't really trust someone coming to their home. So there was like this little barrier because it was totally new. You know, you as someone like that's getting a beauty service, you want to trust the stylist. You want to, you know that they're going to provide a good service. And so there was kind of like that barrier where people were afraid to order the service. So I was like, what if we go into different companies that are our ideal client? So PR companies, different magazine companies, digital marketing agencies, anywhere that basically had like our ideal client. So I would just build these relationships with these businesses, and they were big companies like Condé Nast and Salesforce and things like that had our ideal type of clients there. So we would offer these services to them, and then people started loving it, downloading the app. And then it turned into this big paid opportunity where we would come in and do services for the day. So like massage for the employees and all these things. And it was like these high ticket sales that we were doing. And so it gave us a lot of revenue. And then we were able to start to just scale to other markets and replicate that in other cities. So it was like the B2B model and then the B2C model. And so I ended up launching the market in London, which was amazing. I got to travel there, train everyone. And we launched in 8 markets. So every time we launched in a market, I would help train the team. I would do all of the B2B partnerships and all the event-based marketing, PR. I basically started doing like every role in the company. And it was literally from me starting and giving people coffee and calling a million people to like becoming the director of business development and launching 8 markets. And then the company actually got acquired by NBC, which was crazy.
Wow. By NBC?
Yeah. So I was involved in that process when they started kind of like having interest in the company, because we did a lot of services for the Real Housewives of New York, and they started saying like, this is so cool. And so NBC actually used it kind of like as content. But they acquired the company and they didn't really know what to do with the company because they had no clue. They just thought it was going to be something cool to do because they have so much money. I guess I have no clue. But when they acquired us, it actually ended up not going well. And so they decided to back out of the deal, and then they gave the company back to the CEO of the company. And so they ended up like letting everybody go. I was still there, but I was like, I don't see a future here or anything like that. So long story short, I ended up just kind of leaving New York after like 3 years. And I just said, okay, now what am I going to do? I hit another plateau basically. And I spent a lot of time doing personal development. And so I kind of always was operating using the law of attraction, but I never really knew like what I was doing. And so I kind of stumbled upon like Abraham Hicks and really like starting to manifest things.
Jerry.
What'd you say?
I love Esther and Jerry.
I know, right? And so I started really listening to the law of attraction and all their audiobooks. And then I just started really starting to think like, what's my next career step? Like what can I do that's going to serve the greater good? And I just really thought like, I want my next job to be my dream job, my ideal job. And at that time I was also trying to manifest like the perfect partner, the perfect husband. And
I've seen pictures. I think you did that.
I did. So I would say the 2 things that I manifested were the perfect job and the perfect husband, because that's like, what every woman wants in their life. They want the partner, they want the career. And so I ended up doing the husband first, which was really good. And so I really just started to like write down exactly what I wanted in a partner. And I just focused on that, and I spent time alone a lot. I would take walks in the park every day, and I would just write down like all my goals and my dreams, and I would just focus on that 100%. And I just started thinking in a whole different way. I totally shifted my mindset from listening to, Esther. Right. And it's like a light bulb went off. Like, how have I not been living my life this way this whole time? And like I said, I've been kind of like operating that way naturally, but when I was very intentional with what I was doing, that's when it started to really happen rapidly. Right. And so I remember like writing everything down that I wanted in a husband, like every single detail. And I was just patient, and I was happy, and I enjoyed my life. And I said, you know what, I'm great right now, and whatever happens is going to happen. And so then I met my husband on Bumble, which is an app online, which is crazy. And he,
is that he swiped right? or you swiped right?
So you have to both swipe together, and
some direction.
the woman has to make the first move, basically. So he was born in Italy. He's very handsome. And I wrote down that I want someone that is like very cultured, that likes, food, travel, has already had kids. Like I wanted someone that already had children. I wanted someone very open-minded. I wanted someone that was just, very faithful. That was my thing. I want someone that is like very loyal and traditional, very just like wants a nice, beautiful relationship. And so I met him and he was like, just ready to be in a relationship. And I was like, what? This is terrible. So,
all these boxes.
yeah. So that happened first. And then we ended up getting married after being together for only 6 months. Like it was just so fast, and we've been together for 4 years and everything's great. And, he has kids and I have my daughter, and it's just wonderful. He spoils me with pasta, which is nice. But then I was like, okay, now I need the career piece. So I really need to focus on that because I have this background. I have acting. I built a company from the ground up, basically, that got acquired. And I understand sales, marketing. I understand everything that is involved in building a business, like launching to new markets, all that stuff. So I just kind of opened up to the universe. What is the thing that I can do that is going to be of the greatest good? And so the next day I saw a job posting from someone that I used to work with in theater like 11 years ago. She choreographed a show that I was in, and she is now the VP of development at the Unstoppable Entrepreneur and Kelly Roach Coaching, which is an online business incubator for entrepreneurs. And so I saw the post and she said, we're looking for business coaches who have a background in sales, marketing, and are confident on camera and good on camera. And I'm like, that's me. I spent a lot of time on camera, in my acting career. I'm very comfortable on camera because, as a coach to entrepreneurs, you have to be on Zoom all the time. You have to be teaching live and all that stuff. And obviously I helped build a business. And so they were looking for people to start, immediately, basically. And so I kind of thought that it was very strange that this job posting came up because like literally the day before I said like, this is what I want in a career. And
then there it was.
Yeah. And then I interviewed and, I even asked for exactly what I wanted as far as my salary. Like I was very firm in what I wanted and I got it. So it was amazing. Yeah. So that was like a long story and it involved a couple different things, but I think like the key to me really catapulting was taking that really scary leap to move to a city with no family, no friends, really no one there but myself and my daughter. And I had no choice other than to really just be successful and make it happen. And I didn't let fear get in my way or other people, deter me from doing what I knew in my heart that I wanted to do. Because I think a lot of times in life, like people get affected by other people's opinions. And we always, we have this natural inclination to do what we want to do, but then we hear something in our ear from our mom or our friend. And, then we're like, wait, am I wrong? Like, am I doubting myself? Should I do this? Should I not do this? And like, we start to listen to all these voices and we really just need to listen to ourselves because we know what is the best for our own, future and our own self. So, I think that's the hard thing is when you start to really like listen to other people and, take on their feelings and emotions. And that's hard to do sometimes to not let that affect what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I just heard something today and it was talking about, one of the best ways to have a mind shift. It's a lot of us, it's hard. I think today, especially with COVID and kind of being stuck in your box, having a mind shift and having a mindset that kind of lends itself towards the negative side, right? It's real easy, I think, right now to be leaning towards the negative, right? Mm-hmm. But they said, one of the best ways is to try something new. So you kind of went the extreme, right? You just said, I'm leaving where I am and I'm going to move to New York with my 6-month-old daughter. And, that kind of gave you like that clean slate to create that, in the mind, new neural pathway, right? So that you can start to think different because you can't, it's, you know, it's like that definition of insanity. If you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting. So you have to do something different. You have to think differently for different things to come.
Yeah.
So I love your story. I love it. I mean, y'all, she got everything. She got, well, first she went to New York and had an amazing time, right?
Yeah, I definitely had a lot of fun there.
The beautiful man, the beautiful family, and the beautiful career.
Yeah, yeah. And it wasn't easy when I was there, trust me. I mean, at first I was definitely very poor. Like I said, I lived in a studio apartment with literally just my bed and my daughter's crib next to me. And childcare was like my main issue at first, because Olivia would spend time with her dad, and then spend time with me, and we would kind of meet halfway because he lived in Delaware and I lived in New York, which was a couple hours. So we would really have to like go back and forth, which was really hard because I wanted to make sure that she had that relationship and that was clean. And like, that's the thing as a parent. I think a lot of people make that mistake, is that they put that energy on their child with whatever didn't work out between, you know, the partner. And that is not what you should ever do, because they should never be involved in that. And I never, ever, ever put any of that onto her. And I think that's why she's so like healthy and happy now, because she has a great relationship with her dad. She has a great relationship with me, my husband. It's just all very good. You know what I mean? So, but it wasn't easy. Like I had to find a nanny, and I was basically paying all of my salary at first to, you know, to pay for the childcare. And I had to, you know, take a bus and take a train to get there. So my commute to work was like 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Because she was amazing. So I found her on a website, and she was a retired nanny for like women in New York City that had a lot of money. And so she just wanted to stay where she lived in Queens and be at home with her daughter and her granddaughter. And so she's like, listen, I'll do it for like half the price if you come to me. And I'm like, okay, I'll make it happen, because, you know, that's what I should do. And then I ended up negotiating childcare into my salary, because I just said, listen, this is really what I need to stay here in order to live in New York. And I just asked. And the worst thing they could have told me was no, you know, and they said yes. So I think like ask for what you want. Don't be afraid. And what's the worst thing that could happen? You know, I think that as women, sometimes we get a little scared, and that comes like from a lot of generational stuff too, because like our mothers and our mothers' mothers, and it's kind of ingrained in us to like not go for what you want sometimes, and just to kind of like step down. I know when I tell my mom things like
an embarrassment, right? Like you're embarrassed that you have to ask, or right. No, yeah. I agree. I mean, you know, asking for what you want, asking others, asking the universe, like you said, you know, just putting it on paper. You know,
it's been a long time to feel comfortable doing that, because, you know, in my 20s, I'm still a little bit of a people pleaser. I think we all are, but I was always terrified to ask for what I wanted. I was just I didn't want to use my own voice. I just had this thing inside of me that I was afraid of asking for what I wanted. I don't know if it came from, you know, generational stuff or whatever. I know my mom, like, you know, didn't have a lot of money growing up. And so to her, it's scary when you ask for money. It's like a fear. And so that kind of got ingrained in me a little bit from what she went through growing up. She was raised by a single mom that didn't have money. And so anytime I tell her about money or spending money, I can see like there's a little fear in her eyes. And so even when I would tell her about, you know, I'm going to ask for this or that, she'd be like, well, are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure? You know, and so it's not her fault. It's just kind of like, you know.
Right. It was her experience. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think like that happens sometimes with us as women, like however little loss experienced comes kind of like into our operating reality. And we have to sometimes just, you know, clear that away.
I agree. Samir and I were actually having this conversation yesterday, and it was actually about money. And we were talking about, you know, when you recognize that you have a belief or a limiting belief about something that you want, like money, and then you can look and see, well, where did this come from? Did it come from my mom? Did it come from my dad? Did it come from something that happened to me that, you know, makes me believe this? And then when you can look at it like that, like factually and kind of rationally, then you can say, well, you know, I don't need to believe that anymore. Like that really isn't true for me. And, then you can let go of it and believe something different and look to something different and have a different experience. So I love that. I love that.
100%.
I love your story. I love it so much.
Thank
I'm
you.
curious because you said it wasn't easy, and you talked about some of the obstacles and how you overcame them. Was there, outside of your walks and your journaling, was there anything else that helped you along the way?
Yeah, I think that just always observing and looking for opportunity. Like I said, I'm sometimes introverted. And so I like to watch and I like to see what the opportunities are. And then I kind of jump and I don't overthink what I'm doing. I just have this kind of courage. I definitely have a lot of fear inside of me for sure. Everyone does. But I think that I have this just courage that I just go for something that I want. And I don't think about what the outcome is. I kind of think of it as I'm going to step into this. It's going to be a journey. I'm going to figure it out as I go along. It's not going to be perfect, but whatever it is, as far as the outcome, I don't attach myself to that. So I think a lot of people go into situations where they are already predicting what it's going to be. Well, what if this happens? And what if that happens? And you're already right there setting yourself up for failure because you're not just taking it one step at a time. You're not taking the action that you need to take because you don't know until you're actually in it. Like we like to overcomplicate things, overthink things, and already calculate what's going to happen. And that's really kind of shoots us in the, foot, because then we don't move and we become immobilized. And so I've always been a person where other people are like, well, I remember being in the office and there was another employee after me that they were, we had to do a lot of cold calls or whatever. And they were sitting there like asking all these questions. Well, what if I call and this happens? And what if I call and they say this? And what if, and then I'm just like picking up the phone and I'm like, I'm going to learn by doing it. I'm not going to know until I'm in the situation. For me, I have to learn by doing. And I think that's how I've kind of just overcome a lot of obstacles because I don't wait and I don't overthink it. I just say, okay, I'm going to take the step, I'm going to feel it out, and then I'll figure out what the next step is going to be versus like already predicting what the outcome is.
Right. No, I think I'm the same way. I call it baptism by fire. That's the way I like to roll. Like, let's just try it. Oh, wait, I've hit a wall. Okay, how do we get over it?
Yeah, because that's the only way that you can overcome is if you're in it and you collect that information, the data to make it better for the next time. And so like, that's what I would do. I would make the call, I would screw it up and then I'd be like, all right, I'm not going to do that again. So this is what I'm going to do this time. And then I'm going to do this time. And then I would just improve more and more and more and more. And we get like caught in perfectionism. I think that's where a lot of people get immobilized and get stuck, is because they want everything to be perfect. And for me, I'm just like, I'm just going to do it.
Just practice it until it's perfect, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, Kelly Roach, my mentor, always says imperfect action. That's how she built her entire business, was by taking action, and she didn't overthink it. And so I see that a lot with the entrepreneurs that I work with. It's that they're so intelligent, they're so smart, which is amazing. Obviously, you want to make sure that you have strategy and that you have a semblance of a plan. But I think sometimes, like I said, it's just when you overthink too much that's when the spiraling happens. So
get in your own way, right? I know, I never do that.
I mean, yeah, I definitely overthink certain things in my life. It's been interesting because with business, I've never overthought it because I guess I didn't know enough about it to overthink. Like I was kind of naive in a way that was doing me good, because like I would pitch these big deals for companies because I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was just like, I'm going to do it. And everyone else was like, well, don't you want to make sure that you have this angle and that angle? And I'm like, no, I'm just going to like do it. And then it would work. And they would be like, what? Like, it's because I didn't know any better. Like I didn't have the fear because I just didn't know what I didn't know.
Well, so you didn't have the baggage, right? Actually, it's so funny. Samir and I were talking about that yesterday as well. I was talking about, I managed salespeople before, and I would have these amazing 20-year sales veterans. And then I would have a brand new person, like brand new, like maybe a month of some training. And the brand new person, no matter what you said, well, why don't you try this? They would try everything and just blow your mind. But your veteran would be like, nah, I tried that a few years ago. It didn't work. I don't want to try that again. Versus, well, try it again. So, but that's so true,
They have like that insatiable desire to do something, and so that's really what makes the difference. If you have the drive and you have the passion, you'll make it work.
Yeah, definitely. So if there was one thing that you could have told yourself prior to your journey, what would it have been? Like, what piece of advice would you have given young Kaylan before she was off and running to New York?
That's a good question. I don't think I would tell myself anything, honestly. I think I made, the decision and it worked out to be what it is now. And if I didn't make those choices, my life wouldn't be what it is today. And so I think that I would just tell myself that I was making the right choice. I would give myself a hug when I was like feeling the fear, and I was feeling like, when I was there and I was in a 1-bedroom apartment, I would tell her that it's going to be okay. Basically.
Trust your gut. It's going to be okay.
Yeah. Like, you're going to be fine. You're going to have this amazing life. This is what's going to happen. That's what I would tell myself. I would just give myself a hug and be like, you know what? It's going to be okay.
I love that. Yeah. So what's next for you?
Ooh, good question. So I love coaching entrepreneurs. It's amazing because I get to help people achieve their dreams, and I get to be their biggest cheerleaders. I get to be creative. I work with all types of businesses, like literally everything you could ever think of on the planet, which to me is so exciting because it's always new and it's always fun and it's always something different. So I think that I will continue on this journey for a while and see where it takes me. I've always thought of starting something on my own maybe someday, or I definitely want to go back to acting because I love performing, and because of the pandemic right now, I can't be on stage. And last year at this time I was on stage performing. And so I want to incorporate that part in my life again. So definitely, being creative again, dancing, theater, that's something that really just lights my fire. And I don't have that right now. And so that's, I think, the one thing that I feel like is missing, is having that piece back in. No, I think I have that, then it'll be great. So I've thought about writing a musical or something creative, like writing some. I love writing, and so I've always thought about doing like a play or something. So that's kind of been on my mind. So
do you have a preference? I mean, you said, like, do you like musicals better? Do you like plays better? Do you like film better?
Musicals, because I started out as a dancer, and then I started doing like singing and everything like that. So I love music because it just conveys like so many emotions of joy for me. Like in the morning when I do my morning like routine, I always listen to music and dance around. It just gives me like joy. And so something that will give other people joy and, tell them stories and make them feel happy and make them just have this outlet away from whatever they're going through in their life. So yeah, I think I have some concepts that I've been like kind of mapping out. So, and it's about women and their stories. So yeah.
That's fun. Is there a certain song that gets you going in the morning? Or is it just any song?
I like listening to Queen, like Don't Stop Now, but I'm like, yes.
I love it.
Yeah, I love Freddie Mercury. I think he's just like, if I could bring back any like, musician to write a song again, it would be him, because I would love to see what he would create.
It would be amazing. Yeah, he was so talented, so amazing. All right, well, here's the fun part. So you now get to choose one of Wonder Woman's powers, weapons, or armor. So which one would you choose and why?
Okay.
And you can only choose one. Last time, Amanda tried to choose a couple of things, but I told her she could only have one.
Okay, so I remember the flying. I would choose flying.
Oh, the invisible jet?
Yes.
Or the actual flying. The new Wonder Woman, actually, they're not sure if the new Wonder Woman flies. They think she does. She can jump really high and go really far. But I know the Wonder Woman from back in the day, from when I was first introduced to Wonder Woman, I think in the 80s, she had an invisible jet.
Yeah, I want that.
Okay.
I'm gonna take my invisible jet.
Why the invisible jet? Tell us why.
Because I love traveling. I love seeing new places and discovering new things and seeing other environments. And so I would just be all over the place.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you can take votes. And you know what? I almost forgot that we have a drawing tonight. So we've been having a referral contest all this month. And every Wednesday we draw from our members who have referred new members. And I actually have, for those of you who have been following, I've been using the trusty old Navy football hat with all of my names in here. So every time you referred a friend, your name went in the hat. So some people have their name in here as many as 13 times.
Wow.
So let's see who our winner is this week. Kathleen Nicholson. Kathleen, you are the winner of our crystal set this week. So I will reach out to see if you have a new address, and we will be mailing those this week. So everybody's will get mailed this week. So that's exciting. So keep referring your friends because the contest is ongoing until the end of February. And we will announce our grand prize next Wednesday is a free session with Samir. So that's very exciting. There are a couple of you that are kind of neck and neck there in terms of your referring. And then you have a whole week to catch up for those of you who want to be in the running for that. So very exciting. Kaylan, thank you so much for being with us tonight. We really love having, you actually kind of could be Wonder Woman. You look like her. Maybe you could do a Wonder Woman musical and you could play Wonder Woman. Is there anything you would like to tell us before we say goodnight?
I would just like to say my advice is always to do something a little scary every day, to step out of your comfort zone so you can just continue to grow. And that's how you really make those quantum leaps in your life. And so do something out of your comfort zone every day, just a little bit, and build that courage muscle.
Oh, I love that. Okay. So do something a little scary every day.
Yeah. Awesome. Something out of your comfort zone. Doesn't have to be very scary, but something maybe you wouldn't normally do.
Okay. Just a little scary. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Out of your comfort zone, out of the box. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much. Super appreciate you being with us tonight. Everyone, we will see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.